But circling back to vulnerability, we shot it in Joshua Tree. Nikki Scorpio wrote
Nice.
it. The vibe is kind of Walt Disney and his brother. Like, you wouldn't know Walt Disney if it wasn't for his brother, they say, right? He was in
Mhm.
the office doing all those things. So Nikki, he wrote the music. He produced the music, but he wrote the lyrics. And what I would spit in my verses, he would channel and write to the vibe of who I am. And I'm a painter. Fabien Mortel, he's from France, and he's won a bunch of short films at the Cannes
Oh
Film
wow.
Festival. And when he came to America, he found me and he reached out to me, and he said he wanted to do a project, and he directed me in a spoken word music video that I produced called Virgin. I don't know if you saw that one. And then we worked so well together that I asked him to direct Joshua Tree and this beautiful property in Joshua Tree. It's in the description notes in the video. They gave me the property for a week, and we shot Vulnerable there. And it was a really interesting time in my life because it was when I had um, Stevie and Nick. I was always, the joke was I was a Stevie Nick sandwich,
That's
like Stevie
hilarious. Yeah, like
Nicks.
right, exactly. Stevie Nicks. I was actually just thought
So
about that when you said, I'm like, oh, Stevie Nicks. That's kind of cool.
yeah, yeah, Stevie. I'm a Stevie Nick
That's what's
sandwich.
up.
So Nikki, when I was in New York, I went back to LA, and my heart was like, you know, it was like I was going to LA, but it was like my heart was in New York. And he came, and it was like it was so bearable for me to be in LA because he was there. So I felt like with his raw, with his grit, with his energy, who he was, he brought New York with
Mm.
him, you know? So he was like James Dean, right? And he brought this edge and this rawness, and he brought, you know, his heart and soul in the music. So we were able to do the music together while still, you know, pursuing my acting career in LA. And we he went to this music school for 2 years and got a degree at the LA Film School. And we went around with 5 different producers, and we met Stevie Black. And Stevie Black, I mean, you need to look him up. Black with an E. Stevie Black.
Okay, I was looking. Yeah.
He plays over 20 string
Oh,
instruments. He's from Oberlin.
Wow.
Oberlin is known for music. His parents were educators, they were music educators. And because they were, he had a full scholarship at any school he wanted to go to. And he chose to go to Berkeley, the School of Music in Boston.
nice. Yeah.
And so he went to Berkeley in Boston. And then I met Stevie in Bel Air, and he came up to me, and I looked him up, and he was on Pink's biggest record ever that went platinum, Funhouse. And he did her song called Sober. And that's her biggest song. And I was the lead girl in Pink's music video called Who Knew?
I saw
And
that.
so
I love that.
so Stevie and I had a connection because he worked with Pink, I worked with Pink. So Nikki and I took a meeting, and like I met him, his home, his studio, his vibes. I'm like, yo, this is who we're doing the EP with. And we did an EP, and we were just doing 4 to 5 songs. We were doing it in an EP. We ended up not only doing an EP, I ended up moving into Stevie's house, my producer's house. I ended up moving into his house. I moved in. The studio was in the back. The garage was a full state of the art, like amazing studio. We did a $300,000 production of this album. We just didn't do an EP. We did an album. And we have the sitar from India. We
Mm.
have like all these amazing instruments. Um, like he did the song Archangels that you need to hear. He did the song Archangels. And I came home from work one day from auditions, and I'm sitting in the studio, and he plays it for me. And I'm like, we need strings. There needs to be something before the song. I came home the next day. He did a 16-piece quartet solo.
Wow.
That's
That's crazy.
that's wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
And
he's
then
awesome. Jeez.
and then he did that for Asteroid too. And Asteroid is on YouTube if you type in the Sophisticated Psychos Asteroid. The
Mhm.
opening, there's an opening there, but Archangels the 16-piece orchestra. Oh my God. I mean, Stevie is a rock star. And so he works with Snoop Dogg, Pink, Madonna, Taylor Swift, like anyone you can think of. They just send the synth strings and he puts in the real strings, or he puts in the real strings. So he's a studio guy. He makes the paper. He's not a tour guy. You know what I mean? He does it all from
Yeah.
his home and he just collects the money. So we worked together, and the
Hmm.
project it ended up being a year and a half. And it wasn't just a year and a half of like just making music. We did we were like a trio, and we faced demons. We
Wow.
faced anger. We faced vulnerability. If you listen to the album, which we put it up and then tore it down, but we need to definitely put it up again.
For sure.
We need to have it
Mm-hmm.
out there. um we have a song called Reality Show, and it's all about like how we point our fingers, and how like adults, we point our fingers instead of pointing the finger inside. We blame that person and project on that person. And so it was very transformational. And we had this illusion, and we were going in such a way with it. But ultimately, like, the mix wasn't um like poppy enough, like kind of forward enough, because Stevie's like, I don't know, I don't want to say stuck in the 70s, but he's like an old cat, you know what I mean? He's like one of those old cat,
Yeah.
and he's like
Yeah.
with the instruments. And so like I'm a DJ, and I grew up with going to rave parties and EDM, and Nikki grew up with like the synth and plays the piano and like the 80s baby of like the synth. So we would incorporate it, and so it has a
Hmm.
groove to it, so it's really cool. But it needed to be mixed. And we have one of the songs. The song that's up was a mix by Joel. He did Asteroid, and it's Boss. It's Super Boss. But I can't say he should have mixed the whole album, but it was mastered by Bakery Mastering, and Stevie introduced us to them on the Sony lot, and they did
Okay.
that La La Land movie. And I mean, oh,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and and
Oh yeah, that's
wake
amazing.
me up when September comes. Who's that? Green Day? Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, that's
they
yeah, that's a
master.
great day. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in their mastering suite, and I'm seeing the original plate that they make, and then they go and they produce the vinyl. So that was really cool.
That's
So it was
awesome.
That's
overall a really
yeah.
great process. But that's how vulnerability was birthed, because we
Wow.
were kind of going through this spiritual transformational journey ourselves, and we wrote it into the music. And maybe it was so vulnerable it came down. And I think maybe honestly, maybe it was ahead of its time too. So I think it will have a rebirth. But I definitely have great memories and stories from that time in my life, and the opportunities of what we created with Stevie. And he's a genius, and from that he created his own independent label, and he has
That's
his
awesome.
independent label Flagship Artist, and he represents some people and stuff. So he's doing his own thing, married, has a child, a dog, all that stuff. So everyone goes
Nice.
on their own journeys. Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
the vibes on vulnerability. And but yeah, we had Fabion's wife came, she did the styling, and we were just really simple and raw with the hair and makeup on that one. Yeah,
Yeah. That's
but
great.
he's an amazing French director that I worked with on a prior project. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's great. But yeah, another thing, how you said you took down the album. It's good you didn't take down the 639 hertz hypnotic energy, because yeah, I was listening to that, and speaking of new experiences, I haven't really listened to a lot of music that's real synthy and real trippy and stuff. But could you walk us through the process of that?
Let
Right.
me tell you what's up. Let me tell you what's up. So we've been on this journey that we talked about.
Hmm.
And shout out to Subtle Energy, because we're collaborating with Subtle Energy. Nikki Scorpio actually met Eric Thompson from Subtle Energy. You got to follow him on the Instagram.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
they do everything's like quantum physics, right? And so
Nice.
yeah, and so there's all these different frequencies. And so growing up in the EDM scene, the Detroit electronic music scene, before DJs were like really big and in America, I was going to all these like underground rave parties, and I have amazing stories from that. Like I saw Eminem when he was performing with the Wu-Tang Clan on Halloween when I was a
That's sick.
teenager. like before
Wow.
everyone knew who Eminem was.
That's
like,
sick, man.
Yeah.
front row, like it was an amazing show
Wow.
That's crazy.
in Detroit. That was so cool. hmm And shout out 8 Mile.
That
Eminem,
boy.
right?
Yeah, Slim
Hey, gotta
Shady.
shout him out, man.
Yeah.
Slim Shady.
Yeah, yeah. We haven't met yet, but I know he knows about me because like I'm cool with 50 and we've done some movies together and I went on tour with 50. So
Oh.
like
That's
like
cool.
I'm 7 Mile, Eminem's 8 Mile, and they like talk and they're homies and he loves me. I think because I'm from Detroit, but he's like he calls me Katie K,
That's
Katie
what's
K.
up.
That's his
That's
nickname.
what's
That's
up.
what's up. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. So what
That's good
happened
stuff.
now is I've always been really into music, and then I went on this musical journey that we can talk about, but they were like making me like, there was Britney Spears, and then Lady Gaga was about to pop off, and I went by late Katie Coco, and like they were like kind of trying to package me as like the next Britney Spears, like Lady Gaga, and like Chanel was my favorite, so I was like Katie Coco, and I was going by that vibe for a while, and that's when I went on tour with 50 all around Europe and South Africa. I was going by Katie Coco, and I have a cool story about that in a minute. But basically, I went through this music journey, that my spoken word, that not doing music for a while, and then going to Paris Fashion Week, and then getting into the studio, recording Paris Fashion Week, and that's how I met Nikki Scorpio in Hell's Kitchen. And he's like, I met an angel in Hell's Kitchen, and that was our dynamic duo and how we met and how that birthed. And then we created the Sophisticated Psychos about 7 years ago together. And so when I was in LA, the thing is about being an actor, I'm talking a lot here, okay? But the other thing about being a human being and being an actor is listening. And so a lot of times when an actor is on screen how we are and they're not speaking, they're deer in headlights because they're not listening and they're thinking about their next lines and they're not in the authenticity of the story. So this is where like I think 89% of the bad acting comes from, is because they're not listening. So after studying with the best of the best, and after working, and after, racking my brains and my neurotransmitters and putting myself to the gun and under pressure with anxiety and mind, body, soul, and dancing around and all that jazz and reading scripts, I wanted to do something to make it bearable for me to be in Los Angeles. Because I love commitment. I love making commitments. I like making a plan of action and sticking in like a scientist and like dissecting the thing.
You're a
fully.
follow-through
It's fun
person.
for me. It's like a project.
Right. You're a follow-through person. You like to follow through.
I like to follow through.
Yeah.
Even though it may like, oh, she went to the left or she went to the right, on the macro of she's all over the place, it's like it's like a full-on journey, right?
Yeah.
So for me, there was a project, and I always loved DJing when I was a kid, but there wasn't a DJ music school, and to be involved with DJs, they were all guys, and so it was like girlfriends of mine, not a lot, they knew about DJing if it was their boyfriend, because they would be doing it and he would teach her and blah, blah, blah. And my girlfriend, who was my best friend, her boyfriend was a DJ. And he's like, she went by Mouse, I went by Angel. So she's like, teach Angel, teach Angel. And so he taught me some knobs and some things a couple times, but it was with vinyl. But it wasn't like the go-getter kind of thing. So I guess it was just a different time. I missed the boat on getting a boyfriend who was a DJ or just investing in the materials myself. Or I don't even know if they had guitar centers back then, or even going to a guitar. I don't know how long Guitar Center's been around, but I didn't think to go, or I didn't have a mentor or someone say, hey, or take me to a Guitar Center and show me anything, or I don't know about eBay or buying something used or invest to get something. I didn't think about those kind of things, right? I was distracted. So what happened was I was going to all these rave parties. I was with all the best DJs from around the world, Carl Cox, Diesel Boy, Fatboy Slim, like anyone you can think about, like from all around the world coming to Detroit. And I'm like befriending I'm who I am with these massive speakers, and here's the DJ, and I'm next to the DJ, and I'm like this, and I'm like this, right? And that's how it
Yeah.
is. It's a different vibe. It's not. They weren't like celebrities back then. It was just like you're like chilling with the DJs, right?
Right.
And
Right. Right.
so I'm hanging out. That all happened, and then so I'm in LA, and Nikki, his friend, went to this DJ music school, and we went there. And before we went in, I will never forget. I was so nervous before we went in. I opened my car door. I started dry. It was in 2014. I started dry heaving. I started dry heaving
Mhm.
and just like spitting up clear stuff and like just choking because I was so nervous. It was something that
Nervous
was
and
so deep down that I wanted to do for such a long time that I was just like he had to like run into this store, get me water and get me some napkins because we were just going on a tour. And so
mhm.
I ended up collecting myself and we got the tour. We were there for 2 hours and I signed up for DJ 101 and it was a 6 week
Mm.
course. And you just sign up for DJ 101. And then after that, you decide if you want to participate. You could do the second one for 6 weeks and then you decide if you want to participate in the year program, which was in semesters of 6 weeks. And for me, it's like I can commit to do because I was recruited to go to Columbia for actual neuroscience and writing. I was recruited to go on
Wow.
full scholarship to Columbia in New York,
Wow.
right? But I was so interested in this DJing. And so I made a commitment to do a 1 year program in Los Angeles. And the cool thing about it was I showed up to
Hmm.
listen. And I'm like, not only am I going to understand myself, get to know the fun, the play, the excitedness of all aspects of what a DJ means and learn
Right.
everything. Like, I used to be so like, oh my God, with tech stuff. And now it's like, yo, I can pop it in and get everything set up in less than 5 minutes. Like, we had a test on that, you know? So I'm good
That's
with the
what's up.
tech, which helped me in my podcasting, which helps me as a DJ. I got a
Oh wow.
portable DJI SX2 with the colorful pads, for for not a 2 channel but a 4 channel. So
Hmm.
now I also have, because my vibes is very like Purity Ring and Grimes, so like I love the DJ, the digital, but I also like the vinyl, like Bad Boy Bill's my homie, like house music, like I like the vinyl.
Man, tell
So
me about it.
Yes.
Yes.
oh
I'm
yeah,
right there. I'm right
he's
there.
great, he's amazing. So I can have my DJ controller and then I can have, instead of two turntables, one turntable and still
Oh.
be on one vinyl scratching and then still be on the digital. So it's like a modernized thing, but then like I don't have a bunch of records to carry around if I'm going to Bali or if I'm doing shows around the world. I can just take my controller, you know? But with that being said, I made the 1 year commitment to DJ and to learn about DJing and to find out what kind of DJ I am. So earlier on, I was saying like, I'm not the kind of DJ where it's like you're drinking, getting drunk, and it's going to be to 4 in the morning, that kind. Like, I'm more of like a corporate DJ or DJ for charities or like
Right.
curating maybe yoga events or curating podcasting events where we're talking, but then like there's some music going on, like that
Scratching
kind
on the
of,
ones and twos.
yeah, like a low profile kind of DJ, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that's kind of like the my DJ story. And lastly,
Cool.
about going and being able to listen with my ear, and because of growing up with electronic music, knowing transitions from like 14 bars, 16 bars, 24 bars and all that jazz, like I'm really with the transitions. That's I was learning the kind of DJ I am. So I released during quarantine, right?
Mm.
I have a program, Ableton. That's what like a lot of DJs use. And so I have this program, Ableton, and I made all these different beats. And I would be on the train, in the city, on the plane, traveling in LA, New York, wherever. And while I was in the quarantine, I decided to collect all my music from my 3 different devices. And I collected 24 different beats. And I took the 24 different beats and I broke them up into genres. And one is Hypnotic Energy, it's an EP. 2, it's house music EP. 3, it's a drum and bass EP. And then I have funk. And then I have dubstep. So I have 5 different genres of EPs that I collected and made over time. But because of the quarantine, I put it together.
Wow.
And now I'm releasing the EP. So I just released October 20th, intentionally, 10/20/2020. Nikki Scorpio introduced me to Subtle Energy. And so I love the beats. There's no words on it on the EP. However, I have a single that I'll tell you about. But the EP has beats on it. And Nikki introduced me to Subtle Energy, and he sent me all these healing frequencies, and I looked at all of them. And the one that called to me was 639. 639 healing frequencies. Why? Why 639? Because most people do, like, I think 439 for love, which is cool, whatever, and we can talk about that in a minute. But 639 fosters forgiveness for self, with your relationship with yourself, first and foremost, and it fosters forgiveness in relationships with others, and it stimulates the heart chakra. And I felt like on a planetary level, with what we're all going through right now, we all need a lot more forgiveness with each other.
100%.
Yeah.
So I decided 639. So when you listen to the beats, and I made it, and I just made it verbatim, and I didn't stop. And I'm like, Nikki mixed and edited that. He mixed and mastered them, and I put them out, and they were encoded with 639 healing frequencies. And so when you listen to it, like I said, we have 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day. And because we're all in our normal cycles and we're all in our normal patterns, the cool thing about electronic music, it takes you on a journey, right? So when you're listening to radio music, you know, there's a hook, there's a chorus, there's a bridge, like it's going to repeat, and then there's a format to it. So with this music, the hypnotic energy, and creating the birthright of what God gave me and my experience growing up at underground parties, and my ear, and channeling what my journey and putting it into the music and then encoding it. When you listen to it, I mean, if you heard it, you can tell me the vibes of how you listen to it. You can listen to it working out. I can tell you how I've listened to it, but you tell me, like, you listen to it and it's unexpected and it takes you on a journey, and hopefully it breaks up your neurotransmitters of, you know, and kind of, you know, sets you off in this way or that way. But tell me, like, how did you listen to the album? You listened to the EP?
Yeah, it did. And it was really interesting. It just while I was listening to it, it just kind of mellowed me out because the beats in it are just really spatial. If that makes sense. Like it's just real. It's hard to explain, really, but it hit different, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
In a new way?
Yeah, in a new way, because I like to listen to a lot of music with just beats like EDM, but this felt really different from from your typical EDM. It was just really really relaxing. It was felt more therapeutic.
Yeah. Well, with the hypnotic energy, I mean, I guess it can put you in a hypnosis kind of trance kind of vibe, you know? So yeah, but I'm glad I was able to relax you. That's cool. So if you need to put some relaxing music on, that makes me, like, really happy, because, you know, it's a very intense world and a lot of things coming at us. So to be able to shift your energy and shift into a level of relaxation means I'm doing good work. You know, I take it as, like, I'm doing my job, because if it's healing you, you know, that's the intention with the music, right? And sharing the vibes of the words and the sounds. So did anyone else hear it?
I actually haven't had a chance to listen to it yet. I definitely will, though, because
definitely.
that's my type of music. I love ethereal, kind of like relaxed, shoegazy, kind of vibes, regardless of what I'm listening to. If it's like, because that's what I like in rock music and in hip hop, and definitely a lot of EDM. Because Joshua actually got me listening to a lot of EDM. I didn't listen to it before. Yeah, I didn't listen to it at all before Joshua introduced me to certain artists like Dead Mouse and so definitely like, so I'm gonna definitely check it out, especially because I know I need to relax, as stressed out as I am. So I definitely need music like that in my life.
So
100%.
if you go to the Sophisticated, well, it's on all the music streaming platforms under the Sophisticated Psychos, you'll hear Hypnotic Energy EP. It's my first solo EP, and then if you go to the YouTube, the Sophisticated Psychos YouTube channel, Nikki I picked out the vibes, the vision of the stories, but he edited it. And so you can have a visual while you're listening to the beats. And they've been encoded too with the 639 healing frequencies.
Yeah.
Oh wow! Okay, so definitely, I'm gonna check that out, and for all of our listeners and our viewers out there, we'll definitely put all that information. We'll get it all from Katie and put it in the description below.
Yeah, and
so
you guys can check it out and get real mellowed out and chill. You know, vibe with
us.
Real
relaxed.
Yes.
Get real vibes. And, you know, if you
definitely.
You know, if you need to go on a trip, you know.
Yeah, totally. Let me know the vibes, and then so I haven't decided on the release date. They the house music EP has been mixed and mastered, and in the next a couple weeks, Nikki's doing the videos to them. So I think maybe for Valentine's Day I'll release the house music EP, and then I'm gonna talk to the homie Bad Boy Bill, and he gave me, when I was in DJ school, like he gave me some of his like Bad Boy Bill, and he gave me some of his like things that I could use to put into my songs as a friend. And so I've been friends with him since I was a teenager and like his biggest fan. And so I'm gonna reach out to him and I'm gonna say, hey, like I have this like intro bit, so I want to see if he'll do like an intro, or maybe I'm just gonna do like a dedication to him or something and like surprise him. But I'm gonna honor him as an artist because he's been on my path in a major way, and he's like this angel. And so on Valentine's Day, I'm gonna like, I think that's when I'll release it, on Valentine's Day, which is also my anniversary with Ariana Huffington, which I can tell you about in a minute. But the house EP, I think I'll release, and they're all beats. I think it'll be, maybe I should do Valentine's Day, right? And then do some videos and, you know, pay homage to Bad Boy Bill. I think that'd be really cool. Oh, one thing I wanted to tell you was when everything happened with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, you know, I did a song called Angels and Rainbows. I recorded it more than a year ago, and my producer, Nikki Scorpio, he just, you know, didn't get around to it. And then like the stuff happened with George Floyd, and I was playing some music that my friend, DJ friend, was playing, and he heard it, and he caught a vibe, and then he made a beat, and then he put these beats around Angels and Rainbows. And I did a music video, and I doodle, and I paint, and I doodle, and I did doodle, and I made a music video with photos with doodling, and I dedicated the piece to George Floyd because he's an angel, right?
Yeah.
He and Breonna Taylor, they're both angels. So I dedicated the piece. So I'll see you so you can see it. It's called Angels and Rainbows. It's on the Sophisticated Psychos platform, YouTube channel. And if y'all want to play it on here after the show, you guys can play the song or one of the songs. If you ever want to, you can play all my songs anytime, no problem.
Awesome.
I own all the rights to everything because I produce and, you know, own all the rights to it all. So that you have the clearance. You won't get in trouble. You got to be careful with that with the podcasting.
Yeah, we definitely know.
Unless
we
they
ran into that.
own it. So
Yeah.
I'm very particular. It's the cool thing about being a musician and hooking up with independent artists who have the rights to their own music and not signed with someone, because then there's problems. But anyway, moving forward, um, then unfortunately what happened with Breonna Taylor, I was just like in my studio and I was just like, my heart was calling out to her and I was just so emotionally distraught with I'm an artist, so I'm sensitive, and
Yeah.
I was in New York City in my condo while the riots were happening, and my dad's like, "Yo, are you seeing what's going on?" I'm like, "No." And I'm like looking on the Instagram and it's like, oh, this is happening just I'm living Lower East Side. This is happening like a mile away, and like
Wow.
all the rioting and looting and stuff like that. Anyway, I was just so like emotionally upset, and I went into my studio and I recorded a piece that I haven't released yet. I just wrote a piece, I just said a piece just to get it off of my heart and soul. And so anyway, I
For
was
sure.
saying how I was taught to turn a blind eye, and how when I was a kid, I only saw the news like twice because it was just killings and fires, and I'm so sensitive as an empath that I would just walk right past and I wouldn't watch, and I would just see my mom and dad and they would just be brainwashed, just brainwashed, like watching all the news every night. And it's like, I don't want to be like that. So I never watched the news, but like but I, but I didn't know what to say. And so I didn't say anything. And so like sometimes I would just like turn a blind eye, and that's what I was taught to do. So it was like admitting that I'm an ally. I'm admitting I don't know. I'm admitting like I was taught to turn a blind eye. I was taught like I saw those things that was going on. I didn't know what was going on. I heard about riots. I didn't understand it. I was a kid. Now I'm like, a mini kid or an adult kid or whatever, in spirit inspired young person. But
Right.
still, like, I'm seeing what's happening with the riots. What happened was Catherine Bigelow directed Detroit at the Directors Guild in Los Angeles, and I was
Mhm.
invited to a special screening of Detroit, and I had a Q&A with her after. And after seeing the film, I was enraged, and I had so much rage inside of me. It's like, roar. I wanted to like make a statement and do something and be something and do something, and I felt that. But then nothing ever happened, but it lived
Mm.
inside me. And then this happened with what happened in March with the riots, and it came up again, that rage, and I became like more clear with certain things, and kind of found and was finding my voice that I was told not to have, right? Being invisible, invincible, like not speaking and not speaking, right? So it's like important for us as podcasters to share and speak and get things out.
For
And we
sure.
don't know
Oh yeah.
everything. And so I wrote this piece, and I was crying and I was bawling, and I wrote this piece, and two of my friends who are beautiful, his name is Ollie, and he's in Africa right now, and he's in the Congo. Another friend, Ali, and she's from the Congo Republic. And
Oh,
I sent it to them because they're artists, friends of mine. We've collaborated, we worked together, a lot of things. They're awesome. They're so super, super cool. I had Ollie on the podcast. You can listen to some of the podcast episodes on my She's All Over the Place, the one with Ollie. Senegal. He's in Senegal. I'm
mhm.
sorry. He's in
Okay,
Senegal.
Senegal.
Tali's in the Congo Republic right now. This is where she's from, but they're artist
Oh.
friends of mine and they know me from the inside and out. So I sent it to them and they gave me their perspective of what they thought, like if I were to put this piece out. It's so
Mhm.
vulnerable and so touching. I haven't yet. Furthermore, moving right along, I was in the studio, I was doing a vibe, and it's called Rock Out, Feel the Vibe. Rock Out, Feel the Vibe. And I did a song on one of those hypnotic energy beats, and it's
Mhm.
encoded with 639, and I released it as a single. Breonna Taylor, Justice Will Be Served. I release it as a single from the EP, but it's one of the beats of the EP, and it's spoken word, and I'm calling out justice for Breonna Taylor,
Oh,
saying
that's
her
awesome.
legacy and her name will live on, because it's our duty as artists to make these things known and to
For
share
sure.
those informations. Based on little of what I know my voice matters, and I know who knows in 1,000 years from now or whatever, I who knows where I'll be or where you guys will be, but that song and that message will live on. And so
No,
I would love for you guys to
completely.
hear that song if you guys want to check it out.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
sure.
I did. I actually did listen to that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. It was really nice. It was and because I listened to it on Amazon Music, and it had like the little picture of the candle, which really set the mood for the song. But and I heard like spoken word towards the end. It was really it was really nice.
Yeah, like I've never
It
met
was real
her.
ethereal.
Have you?
Oh, what'd you say?
Yeah.
Matter?
Have
Mm-mm.
you met her? But it's like we know her
I
kind of like
haven't.
our yeah, like
Mm-mm.
a lot of people, but it's like I felt connected to her and I feel we all feel connected. Not I can't say all of us, but I feel like a lot of us feel moved and connected by her and obviously,
Yeah.
there's
Hmm.
been a big ripple effect and action being taken.
No,
So,
no, seriously, and yeah, it's like you find a kinship with certain people, maybe because they've been in similar situations, or maybe because you've felt a similar injustice done to you. So I know definitely with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, they I appreciate the fact that through what they had to go through, a lot of it was a lot of people that weren't privy to having to deal with those issues got a chance to see what it was like through recordings, or through people getting their time to protest and that sort of thing. But yeah, certainly it's definitely terrible what happened to them. But like you were saying,
Hmm.
Katie, it's our duty to as artists to be able to talk about that. And certainly your song, I definitely want to get a chance to hear it. But yeah, whatever happens to us later on in life, that thing will always be there frozen in time for that particular situation, and others that we might not even know about. Like I talk about all the time, you don't know everybody that listens to you or listens to your podcast, or listens to the art you put out. But yeah, you don't know. I'm sure your music and that song will touch a lot of people, and
I
I
sent it to
think
her
Yeah.
is.
mom. I reached out to
Oh
her mom
wow,
on the
really?
Instagram.
Oh
Yeah, and she
wow.
had a couple
Wow.
pictures, and I asked her
Oh my
permission if I
goodness.
could use a couple of the photos, and I honored her and I credited
Oh
her
man.
in the photos, and I sent it to her, and then I did an episode, and I sent her the podcast episode. So I think
Wow.
her receiving that love of like someone she doesn't know and she's never met. I'm an
Yeah.
artist, and so I gave that gift to her, and I mean
Wow.
that deeply impacts her. I mean, like someone who doesn't know and they're reaching out to you, like there's a lot of isolation, especially with grieving, and one of the myths of grieving is that we need to go up to our room and cry alone and grieve alone, but we can actually grieve together, and it's healthy
Together.
to grieve
Hmm.
together and talk about these things together, and not be so isolated and alone, because that's how people unfortunately take their lives, and then they're not
Yeah.
here with us anymore.
Hmm.
So to
Yeah.
break those myths, and to give the love, even if we can't judge who needs love, because we all need the love, and
Exactly.
and I practice not judging another, and I practice not judging myself, because no matter what circumstance is going on, I don't really know what's going on a deep rooted level. So by practicing kindness and forgiveness and putting that in the music is aligned with who I am. It's just kind of like the cherries on the top of that separates it from just like EDM beats. There's like an intention with it. And people, whether they're conscious or believe in it or not believe in it, woo woo, whatever. I mean, that's on them if they don't know
Yeah.
science and quantum physics. There's this podcast, I don't know the name of it. It's an astrology podcast that I found on Spotify because I was just scrolling to as a scientific person doing research. But
Mm-hmm.
I found there's like if you go on Spotify, there's like a stream where it's like people who just want like 15-minute doses, like quick hits of podcasts to feel like, oh, I just like listen to a podcast. So there's this one on astrology, and this one that I tuned into on astrology. I'm sure there's not many of them, but um, I actually caught the episode where he says it's written in Russian. There's a platform in Russia, and you have to translate it, but it's these metrics of the vibrations, and it says that our planet right now is at the lowest vibration it's ever been. Like our planet is at the lowest vibes, right? So by making this music and by people doing what they're doing with the positive vibes, I hope, it's a part of it is a part of the ripple effect.
No, you know what? I completely understand that. And I think certainly as far as like with vibes and putting out art in general, that's another reason why I love the name of your podcast, because it's 100% true. Like you're literally all over the place. You do everything.
Yeah.
And you know what, Katie, like especially and I wasn't even expecting tonight to get emotional or be just touched like that, but I truly think what you did with Breonna Taylor's mother, and just the fact that you admitted to not really understanding the ins and outs of everything, and nobody does. That's just what it is. But the one thing that you did, which I think a lot of people kind of miss, is that you were kind. You were kind, and you showed that you cared, and you took something that's your gift, something that you're good at, and you put it out there as a positive to try to make somebody else feel a little better about their situation. And we at the Square Roundtable completely support you for that. That is amazing. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
That is great.
My pleasure, of course. Also, when I was learning about allyship, I write on Ariana Huffington's publications, and I was just so moved and inspired. It's like, what else can I do? So I actually wrote an article about, allyship. And so I'll send you the article so you can see it. And it was just me sharing ways that I've learned, and then sharing what has been taught to me, so that maybe one person or maybe many people can see the article, and it'll give them some insight and information on it as well. So it's a practice, and it's an unfolding, and it's not like, oh, it's a one thing and then it's over. I mean, it's been going on for a long time, and now there's just a lot of language around it, which is really exciting for me. I'm Greek. I'm Greek Orthodox Christian, so I went to school and I felt different. My first piece I ever wrote was called The Oddball when I was 13. I felt so odd. I felt so different. I felt so unique, and like I wasn't like Caucasian, or in like the school I went to, like Asian people were together, African American people were together, the small Indian groups were together, the jocks were together, like the nerds were together, like the mathletes, everyone was in their groups. And
right.
maybe that's how I got She's All Over the Place, because I didn't fit into any of them. I was just like observing all of what was going on. I was Greek. Like I had this girl, she was Albanian. I had a group of girlfriends, and they all betrayed me at the beginning of freshman year. That's a harsh story. That's why I'm so big into divine femininity and loyalty and friendships, with females in particular, and empowering females, because I know what it's like when people are mean to you, like so mean to you. And there's this girl when I was a freshman. She was 14, and she was Albanian, and that was like the closest to Greek I had in my school. And she was crying and crying and crying, and they pulled her out of school because they were so old school. They had arranged marriage. She had to go marry a 50-year-old man, when she was a freshman in high school. And she was like the only friend I had that was like ethnically like really close to me. So I always felt different and off and odd. And so, growing up in Michigan, going to a suburban school, and being, like I said, taught, like, turn a blind eye to certain things. Just stay out of other people's business, out of sight, out of mind. And then Nikki Scorpio, actually, he's the one he's like, you guys have to meet him. Blonde hair, blue eyes, pale, like Eminem. He looks like Eminem. He looks like Eminem. He looks like the first Luke Skywalker in Star Wars. The very first, he looks like Luke Skywalker. Now he has this long curly hair.
Okay.
But he's like Eminem. He looks like Eminem, but sounds like Tupac. Like, very
Okay.
intelligent.
She's not lying, guys.
Oh
She's
no,
not lying.
his voice. Like, there was this called Motown series on Netflix, like this dope, like I think it was called Motown. It's a series they did. It was some dope, amazing series, animation series. He was up for it a few years ago, and they had this when they had the callbacks in person for a voiceover, and he went in. He's with Vox, the same voiceover agency I'm with in LA,
Oh,
and he went
okay.
in and they thought he was African American because his
Oh,
voice was
wow.
so deep. They couldn't
Mm.
believe like he's this skinny tall white boy. Well, he's a
And they're,
sweetie.
that's
He's
what's
a
up.
Yeah, he's a sweetie. He's very sweet, very talented. And where were we going with this? Oh, he's the one. So he grew up in the Bay Area,
Mm.
and like he grew up around Black Panthers, and he grew up
Mm.
around like he was growing up in Berkeley, and then they had to move to Alameda, and then he has his whole history that you guys can talk about when you all connect. But like he's the one that gave me the courage to give me the insight to educate me on things that I didn't know about, because
Oh, wow.
like for me, I'm very sensitive, and not everyone has to take on the deep heavy stuff. Like I'm like a light person. I'm very intense, but I'm a light person. I like to make other people laugh and inspire people and kind of lighten the mood, and take something that's super heavy but make it kind of light,
Right.
and just make it, like, but he can carry this weight and like and live in this like this like hardship, and it's sometimes difficult to be around because it's so raw and truthful. But that's also what attracted me to him in the beginning, is his raw and his truthfulness,
Mm.
so there's a yin and the yang, and I could probably bring some of my bubbly lightness to him.
Right. Yeah. And then you both kind of balance each other out. So that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's been an interesting partnership, for the last 7 years, and it's been really cool birthing all these creations. When I did my first web series, Trigger Flaws, I gave 5 non-union actors an opportunity to be in the union, and he was one
Oh,
of them.
wow.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, and then he does the editing, he does the music for the music videos, for the web series, for the short films. So I have another short series that's coming out. It was a short film we created at Coachella a few years ago, and it's called #Selfie. It was a short film, and we broke it up now because a lot of people like Quibi, which I heard they recently went under, but a
Yeah.
lot of people are into shorter content now. And
Yeah.
so shorter
Big time.
content, like
Mm-hmm.
2 to 3 minutes, like even 1 minute content. So I took the 16-minute short and I had it edited to 3 minutes, and we have a 6-part series of a web series we're going to release in the beginning of 2021 called
Nice.
#Selfie, and it's about a girls' weekend going to the Love Festival Coachella.
Oh, okay.
That's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds cool. Definitely keep us up to date on all of that good stuff. So we
Oh
could
yeah.
definitely share it with like all of our listeners and all that good stuff. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to the
Oh yeah.
listeners for sure.
yeah, man.
Appreciate you all
Yeah.
showing up and being here with us. Because circling back around, Gary Vee was a keynote at Worlds, this conference in LA, and he said, when someone has an idea, automatically the idea is worth $4 million. Just an idea. When
Mm.
Hmm.
you come up with an idea, it's worth $4 million. That's what he said 2 years ago at a keynote, right? The number one thing, the number one most valuable thing is right here, is our first eye, our third eye, our first eye, our attention. Where attention flows, energy goes. The number one most valuable thing that money cannot put a price tag on is our focus and our attention. So the 4 of you are here with me, and I am here with you, and the listeners are here, and we appreciate you, and we value you, and I value all of you and myself. We all value each other. The
For
number
sure.
one thing we have is our attention, and we choose to be here right now, and that is so powerful. And it's the most powerful thing that can happen in the universe, on this planet, in this moment of all time, because of where our attention is. That's the number one most valuable thing. So having all the listeners and people subscribing and tuning in, like, that's so much gratitude and props, because
Yeah, it's awesome.
they gave you their attention and focus to be here, to be entertained, to learn, to share, for whatever reasons, whatever reasons. Yeah.
No, it's it's really cool stuff, and just being able to hear like your story, which is amazing. Like you certainly had a lot going on, and you have a lot going on now.
You're all over the place.
Like,
yeah, I was say, really, yeah.
but yeah, Katie, it's all good stuff, man. And we and certainly for your show too. Like, one thing I've noticed with your podcast is like, a lot of your episodes are kind of like in shorter increments, like maybe like the longest being like what, 15-20 minutes maybe.
Oh, no.
So,
normally
oh,
they're
really?
about 50 minutes long. Yeah. The
oh
new
wow.
ones that the next 5 are like an hour and 20 something minutes. Most of my podcasts are like 40 to 50 minutes. The ones where I do solo, where it's just me, they're around maybe 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're longer.
Is that purposely like for just to like keep the viewers' attention? Because I know you were saying like a lot of the times, like even now, people take in their media like really, they have like a short attention span. So like for those that you're doing by yourself, is that done purposely, like doing them in a shorter amount of time?
Well, for those people who just want to do like 15-minute ones for quick pows, like, and I ended up going through like 5 of them. It was just fun. But I listened to a Joe Rogan one with this guy who like has this amazing story about Africa, and it was 4 hours, and it was on the YouTube as well. And I was engaged. I mean, I had to like close my eyes for some time because my eyes were on the computer. I didn't my blue light blockers, but I could not put it down. And actually, here's a podcast hack for you.
Ooh, okay.
And I didn't know this before I did the vibe of what I'll tell you, which I'll just tell you first, and then I'll tell you the hack. But no, sometimes when I go to do a podcast, I only have a couple podcasts that are like by myself. But when I go and I guess my earlier ones are shorter because they were from a YouTube series I created called Kiriaki TV, and I did basic fundamental 101s, and then that's how I started the podcast.
Yeah.
And they're and I made them shorter for YouTube because you're supposed to have them like 8 to 15 minutes. So the first ones are shorter because those are just like basic 101s for people who are like just starting out. If they just want like quick hacks on DJ, modeling, acting, I give a lot of value and insight on those things. But past the first like 8 to 10, they're 40, 50 minutes, much longer. But the ones that I did go and do myself past the first 10 ones, that I'm like how I'm doing now, I'll get nervous. I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna talk about headshots, or I'm gonna talk about this, and then I'm like talking, and I'm like, holy crap, like this is 2 podcasts. I had to like edit and like put it on another file, and I'm like, yo, this is backed up. Thank God for another episode, because that whole headshots episode that came on, self-sabotage and the importance of a headshot, that was a completely different episode I was doing, and I had to like keep that in the the treasure chest. But no, the one I did on voiceovers 2 weeks ago, I covered this That's Voiceover event, all about voiceovers. Amazing. If y'all are interested in voiceovers, you should definitely check out that episode. That's Voiceovers. But I just like riffed it, and I cut it down to 33 minutes, and I was like, oh wow, I'll be like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about, and then I'm like, yo, I'm 22 minutes in here, so it's like, I don't know. And then all of a sudden I just start talking like she's all over the place. I don't even realize, but I'll get like stuck or paralyzed or paranoid, like scared. Like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about, but I just show up to the mic and I do it. I'm like, I'm going to talk about this, and everything's going to unfold. And then it does. And then there's pauses, and I cut those out. But yeah.
No, that's a good one. Yeah.
But the hack is what I learned from my friend. So I was looking during the quarantine, I was like, oh, I should have a distribution company, like spending the money promoting this and pumping it out. Well, I
Right.
want to own my own IP. I think owning your own IP as a podcaster is like gold. And that's the whole thing about podcasting, because you can say what you want, do what you want, sponsors, everything by owning your
Ooh,
own
yeah.
IP. Like Joe Rogan, he was with Libsyn, and they host 75,000 podcasts now. Some of his episodes couldn't transfer over to Spotify. It's been very controversial. There's
Oh
been a lot of
wow.
problems going
Yeah, I
on.
heard about that.
He's in a different position. He took his money and ran and whatever, but now some certain celebrities are getting, they have the macro followers and they're doing the deals and they're just kind of doing it, and it's going to be a lane of, you know commercial, or however the vibe is of what they can do and can't do because they're associated with MTV or whatever.
Right. Right.
But owning your own IP and doing your CPUs and the ROIs and having sponsors and collecting that money, and it's all yours, and being able to say what you want and do what you want. I mean, that's I think that's the key about podcasting. It's so intimate, it's so intimate.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's gonna the beast is gonna be what it is, and we're in early. Even though I want to do podcasting for 6 years, and even though I went to this amazing 15 it was this 15-year annual hip hop festival in Atlanta 2 Octobers ago, and
Uh
they had they had women speakers, Interscope, all these different speakers. Rob Stone, the creator of the Fader, he told the story
Yeah. Yeah.
of how he met his partner. It was very moving. I was in these podcast panels, and they were talking about all these big brands like Target and stuff now funneling money into podcasting ads. I mean, that was 2 years ago. And I'm a brand ambassador for a lot of brands. So all these like mid-level companies and the smaller companies, those are the ones you want to reach out to, because
Mm.
they don't know. I'm so ahead of the curve, and y'all are ahead of the curve too, because you're like in it. You're in it. Like that's what 50 Cent says, especially in his book. He did a collaboration with Robert Greene, The 50th Law.
Mm.
So there's the 48 laws of power. And
Mm.
then we were in South Africa together when he announced, we were flying from Johannesburg to Cape Town, and 50 was saying, yeah, I'm going to do the 50th law. Well, he did the 50th law, and he's like, you can be a spectator on the court, or you can be on the ground playing the game.
Right.
So that's when I learned he went to Interscope, and he worked for a year to get in the game to see what was up. And after a year, like, he left because he wanted to know what was
Right.
up, like being on the court in the game. So there's this conference that you guys should get on the mailing list.
Okay.
I'll forward it to you.
Awesome. Thank
But it's Podcast Movement. It just happened. And it was the first virtual. It's been happening since 2014. It's this first annual podcast movement, and they have a newsletter that comes out every week. But it's the largest annual podcast movement conference, and you will learn so much. And I was in this conference like just about a month ago. All these smaller brands and mid-sized brands, because there's brand ambassadors who go into stores like Whole Foods and like in person, who are brand ambassadors speaking about products and gifting them away. But that's all done because of the pandemic, right? So they have this ad money, they have this money, but they don't know what to do with it. So that's what I'm saying. We can work together, and we can talk later about making a plan and getting certain brands to be sponsoring the podcast, and, exchanging gifts for things that you actually authentically believe
Right.
in, and you let them know. Because if it's something like, whoever, like a bigger brand, they have ad agencies, they have teams, it's too big out of the area. But if you hit up independent brands that you want to locally support and do collaborations, those are the ones we want to collectively build together, because we're the newness of the new, right?
Pretty much.
We're
Yeah.
the new
Yeah.
Oh
world.
yeah.
We're creating it. It's up
Exactly.
to us and how we do it,
Exactly.
and we can curate that.
No, I think that's a great thing. It's certainly I can't wait to, be partnering with you in the future, trying to get some more of these, sponsorships and all that good stuff. Because that's one thing that I've been trying to do, just hitting the ground running. And we've done a couple, but certainly, yeah, for a lot of podcasters out there, that's the big thing, getting your show funded, some way. So yeah, that's definitely a big thing.
Okay,
100%.
so I have an episode coming out tomorrow. Do you know Mind Valley?
No, what's Mind
Yeah.
Valley?
Okay, everyone Google Mind Valley. I'm a big fan of Vishen. He's the creator of Mind Valley. Just Google it. You'll find Lisa Nichols.
Mm.
Her story is compelling. Marissa Peer, she was on my podcast. She's like the number one hypnotherapist in England. She's a hypnotherapist for a lot of rock stars, celebrities. She was Princess Diana's hypnotherapist.
Oh wow.
She was Vishen's hypnotherapist. She has a program there. Mind Valley's amazing. Check them out. But Jason, who's been a part of Mind Valley since the beginning, I met him at a Mind Valley reunion a few years ago in San Diego, and we kept in touch. And he's in Bali right now, and he's actually the host, the exclusive host. Vision launched Superhumans at Work podcast, and Jason Mark Campbell is the exclusive host for the podcast. And I have a podcast episode with him that will be on my podcast tomorrow. And it's all about what we're talking about and how do you sell and get on brand with people and how for them to invest in you and to get money and to ask for money and how to ask for money and how to sell with love and the communication we're having and the approach we're having. And when you multiply it with the collective and we talk on this level, and you reach out to these people and you're sharing and you're giving them value and you're gifting them insight and you're letting them know, hey, we honor you and we actually authentically believe in what you're doing and we align and we want to align with you and showcase what you guys are doing with our audience, which is a micro, which is more influence than a macro, because a lot of the macros they know it's just like a cash dollar exchange.
Right.
That's a transaction. But on a micro, these people we actually have, my nose is itching, we actually have the opportunity to move the needle and shift and inspire people to take action, to have actionable steps. So Jason Mark Campbell, he's on a podcast episode that's going to launch tomorrow. I highly suggest listening to it. It's all about sales. It's all about how you sell authentically, and us being artists, it's so beautiful because we're so heart-centered. It's not like, oh, we're selling something. It's not the old model of selling. It's sharing. It's speaking from our truth and our heart, but having the communication skills and the confidence and the support and the team to say, hey, this is the vision, this is the plan, this is what's going on, let's put it together, and not only have sponsored products and things, because that's what you would normally spend money on always, but hey, how about, do you want to invest in this? This is where we're going. This is the new world. This is the vision. This is what we're doing. Do you want to donate $5,000 for this? Well, what's the ROI for them? Return on investment, right? So that comes all into strategic planning and play. But people who, there are people out there who have a lot of money who want to help artists, but a lot of artists don't have the courage or know how to ask for it.
Exactly.
So in the episode tomorrow with Jason, you might have to listen to it 2 or 3 times to really get it, because I was in the conversation, but I went over and I listened to it twice, and I was picking up things that he was saying that didn't click to me. Like I heard it, but things that didn't click to me. But then you go back and listen to it, and you have to listen to some parts over and over to make it, to understand and have it click. And then taking that language and applying it and having the courage to apply it to 20 people at first. And if you get 20 no's, you go to 20 more people.
Exactly.
Nikki was on the phone. So we're doing a clothing line, and they're all going to be, heads up, they're all going to be, I'm announcing it here for the first time, just so you know. We have a clothing line that we planned this whole entire line. This is an exclusive. For this whole entire time, we connected on fashion for sure in a music studio. Super dope with this fashion. And he and I are launching a clothing line, and they're all going to be encoded with healing frequencies.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So the clothes you're going to be wearing will be encoded with different quantum physics healing frequencies.
Oh wow, that's
okay.
pretty interesting. I can't
Yeah, that's
I can't
cool.
wait to see that. That's gonna be pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Is it gonna look anything like your merch on your website?
I'm gonna have those encoded, but yeah, we have a whole vision of what we're doing. But yeah,
Nice.
but you guys, everyone should
Good.
definitely support the merch that's up there now. We have the Angels and Rainbows merch on there, and then Nikki does all the designing and stuff. So I had him put the merch up for Hypnotic Energy EP solo. So the merch just went up there like 3 days ago. So I'm excited about
Dopeness.
that.
Dopeness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And also another thing you guys should do as artists, do you have Patreon accounts?
You know what?
We
I actually talked about that not too long ago. We need to get one. We really do.
Mhm.
Do it.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you to pull the trigger. As an artist, I felt like, oh, it's selling out. I'm asking for money. But after podcast movement and learning what I learned and everything, I set up a Patreon right away. It's brand new. I haven't promoted it yet. I had the link. I set up 3 tiers. Like Amanda Palmer. She made millions. She had a really good thing. You can do a tier, a Patreon for $1, where people can just contribute for $1, and you give them like an exclusive. And hey, 500 people supporting for $1, that's $500. But then you can have another tier and another tier. So I did like a $1 tier just because Amanda Palmer did it, and for just people who just maybe just want to support with $1. And then why not? And then I did a $3 one, and then I did one for 150. And those are just ones that I set up for now. And I made them specific, but I'll go back in, and you can. It's a very friendly platform. It's free to artists, but it's a great way if you want to do it individually or as a collective. As a collective, I think it has more power. But and then you guys just split it 4 ways or something. But you decide what you want to do. But I think I knew about Patreon a few years ago, and I was so anti-Patreon. I was so anti. I'm like, I'm not my ego. I'm not asking for anyone for money. Like, I am so wealthy and rich, and I don't want people thinking like, oh, I don't have money, and I'm desperately asking for other humans that I don't know, or no, forget all that. Forget all that. No, you keep your money in your bank, and you get the best investment you can make in yourself the best investment you'll always make is in yourself. Okay. So I definitely
100%.
invested in myself in those things, but also keep your money in the bank. And there are other people who have money that want to support and invest. I definitely highly suggest Indiegogo. I'm going to do an Indiegogo coming up. I was so anti Indiegogo, and my friend has a venture capitalist company, and they were the primary investors in Indiegogo. And he was telling me, like, oh yeah, I'll put you in touch with the people. He put me on touch with the people. They were going to put me on the front screen, so I would have like the feature. And then I didn't do it because my psychological artist setbacks of what people are going to think of me, my ego. No, like, people want to support artists. You don't have to be like, in a diehard situation. We can still
Right.
support one another.
Support art. Yeah.
Support art. Support art. It's supporting art,
Right.
and we need to feel worth it and confident and okay with asking for what you want, and never taking second rate when you know you're first rate material.
That's
You know what I'm
and,
saying? Like, you
and
know
that
what
is
you are.
100%.
You know what you
No,
are.
Right.
You're not settling for anything less. No.
and that's 100% true. For all of for us and for Katie and for all of our viewers and listeners out there that are also artists, or do whatever you do. At the end of the day, you can't downplay yourself. You got to believe in your art. You got to believe in your passion. And the biggest thing, like Katie said it herself, the biggest thing you can invest in is you. And that is such a great note. But
Yeah.
Katie, I would love to say, like, it's been nothing but a pleasure having you on today. Like, we really enjoyed you so much.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. It's been a
100%.
great talk.
You guys are
No,
so
Yes.
sweet. Thank you.
no.
I'm so touched. Thank you. That's so
You make
sweet.
it easy on us. You made it
Yeah.
like way too easy. Like it's been like it's really been an organic conversation. You know that's really all we can ask for at the end of the day. And you
Yes.
know, and honestly, I would want you to let our viewers and listeners know.
Oh yeah.
Number one, where they can find you on social media,
Sure.
and
Mm-hmm.
you know what projects you have coming out, so they'll all know. And everything, of course, guys, we'll put in our description below. So
Cool.
yeah, Katie, what you got going on?
Yeah, definitely. I would just go over to the Sophisticated Psychos YouTube channel, subscribe. We have weekly videos coming out, improv videos, music videos, educational videos, products we believe in. We're honoring other artists and putting them on our platform as well. Everything's entertainment, health, wellness, education. We're really big into mental health. We're on the Sophisticated Psychos music streaming platform everywhere. And then, you know, Chonacas.com, my last name is Chonacas. On there, you can subscribe to my monthly newsletter. I would love to have you on my monthly newsletter. And there you can find my social media handle, which is Chonacas as well. And then I created a She's All Over the Place podcast Instagram, so y'all can follow there as well. And then also, lastly, just go to the sophisticated psych, not the sophisticated psychos. Yeah, go there for sure. But you can go to She's All Over the Place podcast, subscribe there, listen to a bunch of episodes. If you want to know about something specific, you can reach out to me, email me, write me a message at imaginekatie@gmail.com. And if you want to know more about voiceovers or DJing, I can send you the link on which episode you should specifically listen to. Or if you're going through something with like anger or something with spirituality, I can direct you to a specific episode. Otherwise, just like, leave a review and let me know what you thought about the episode. And yeah, that's how you can find me. I'm around and I'm here for you. And I'm excited to be here and honored. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you were
Yeah.
100% welcome.
Yeah.
And yes, guys, all of our viewers out there, we will put all of Katie's information in the description below. And definitely, please check out her podcast. She's all over the place because it is amazing, and she is amazing herself. But yes, guys, guess what time it is?
Shameless promotional.
Shameless
Of
promotion.
course. So we are the Square Roundtable Podcast, and you can catch us on Major Zone Music every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, 12 p.m. Central Time, and 1 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah. You can find us
my
on
bad.
YouTube on Fridays at the Square Roundtable Podcast on YouTube. Make sure you hit the notification bell, leave a comment, and like the video. We love reading comments.
Yes, hit that bell, guys, for everybody on YouTube. And yes, you could know whenever we drop any videos, and then comment, guys. We always like reading comments and, talking and nerding out with you guys. So definitely, guys, under our videos, leave some comments so you could talk to us. And please, also, I almost forgot about it. Right. And follow us, friend us on our Facebook group, same name, the Square Round Table. And you'll get updates on new videos. You'll be able to chat with all 4 members of the Square Round Table, and we post memes and everybody's art, music, all that good stuff, guys. So come check us out.
Yeah.
And and once again, man, we have been the Square Round Table, and I would love for everybody to introduce themselves one more time before we sign out.
Oh, I just wanted to say
What's going
one
on?
request.
Yeah.
Request. Like, if everyone could just drop a comment in the YouTube section and on Facebook, just drop a comment of a gratitude of something that you learned in this episode. If you gained some insight or value, and share it with someone that you love or someone that maybe needs to hear this message for uplifting them. If they're, an artist or just into mental health or into positivity and needs to hear something. So definitely leave a comment and let us know what you thought about the video and some gratitude. It's really important to be inspired and be in gratitude. And I would just love to read all the comments in the near future of your gratitudes. It would just put a really big smile on my face and warm my heart. And yeah, and I'll just send the love right back.
Awesome. Yes,
Awesome.
please.
Awesome.
Definitely, guys. Good stuff. Please comment. Definitely.
Yes.
But yeah, guys, I am Chad Singleton.
Dmitri.
Josh Singleton.
Marcus.
And I'm Katie Chonacas. Woohoo!
And this has been the Square Roundtable, and we are
Yay!
out.
We out.
Square round table. Woo.